Hello and welcome to the BBC Proms.
Tonight we've got what promises to be a great concert music by Varèse, Rachmaninov and Copland.
The National Youth Orchestra of Great Britain are here, making their annual appearance at the Proms, and they'll be conducted by the music director of the Royal Opera House, Antonio Pappano. Now don't forget, if you're on digital freeview or satellite, you can get extra information about the concert at any point by pressing the red button on your remote.
Well, joining us this evening are the actor David Soul, who was sadly voted off BBC Two's conducting competition Maestro just this week.
Yeah.
We've his mentor, the Venezuelan conductor Natalia Luis Bassa, and joining them the cellist Julian Lloyd-Webber, who was recently asked to spearhead a brand new youth music scheme here in the UK. We'll be hearing about that in a little while, but very warm welcome to you all.
Welcome to you all. David, many commiserations for what happened to you the other night. Let's have a quick look at that.
Oh dear.
Well, I was there at the show on Tuesday, and what was so obvious was your huge passion and enjoyment for conducting. You obviously really did enjoy yourself.
Very much so, very much so. We had a couple of train wrecks at the beginning of the piece, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. So there are no sour grapes. I just should be there, that's all.
Julian, let's talk now about tonight's orchestra, tonight's show. The NYO, what a great group.
Fantastic tradition, you know, they've been a wonderful youth orchestra for many, many years, and I think, you know, we were all stunned by the Venezuelan orchestra, but we should never forget, you know, that here in the UK we've had a great youth orchestra for years.
Well, Natalia, you're a product of that Venezuelan music system. We'll talk about it more later, but do you think one of the keys to that is starting music early? It's about getting passion for music in really young kids.
I would say so, plus the fact as well that I think there is an immense, it's not because I'm a Venezuelan musician, but there is an immense amount of talent, of musical talent in there, which makes it easier as well in a way.
Well, we'll talk a lot more about the powerful benefits of music a little later on, but first up to tonight's programme.
Yes, this NYO concert has a distinctly American flavour to it. We're going to start this evening with Amériques by Edgard Varèse. It's a brilliant showcase for the 160 players in this orchestra. It was written in the 1920s and it expresses all the dynamism and the excitement of a growing New York City with a large collection of bizarre percussion, including sirens and a lion's roar.
It's a kind of urban rite of spring in the use of rhythm and short melodic units, and in the way that Varèse strove to create a completely new aural world, and also a bit like the rite of spring, it's highly ritualistic. Julian, is it a work you know?
I don't know the piece at all, so I'm coming to this completely open-minded, like a child.
Well, it is graphic in its depiction of America, or Varese's sense of America. Well, applause now for Antonio Pappano, coming on stage to conduct the National Youth Orchestra of Great Britain in Amériques by Edgard Varèse. From the early 20th century, one man's first impressions of New York City. Amériques, that was, by Edgard Varèse. A dangerous risk of a piece to open a show, I'm sure you'd agree, but a risk that absolutely paid off. The National Youth Orchestra and Antonio Pappano in sharp and cultured form. The remarkable young players of the National Youth Orchestra come from all over the country. The youngest is the double bassist Henry Williams, who's just 13, and the oldest is the leader of the orchestra, Konrad Elias Trostman, who's 19. There's Henry Williams, you just saw him. Now that orchestra may look pretty vast to you for that piece. Well, believe it or not, Amériques was originally scored for an even bigger orchestra, including quadruple woodwind, 2 brass groups with one off stage, gigantic tam-tam, cyclone, steamboat whistles, and a siren borrowed from the New York Fire Department.
Well, an electric start to tonight's concert. And the stage is just going to be reset before we get Rachmaninov's 4th piano concerto. Just a quick response from our guests here in the studio tonight. What a fantastic start, a ridiculous piece in lots of ways.
Wow. I mean, I lived in New York. I mean, I heard everything out of New York was there.
Absolutely, the sound of New York. And I know, Julian, while you were listening, you were just sitting there saying what a brave choice it was to open a concert.
But also quite a clever choice, because there's all those sort of very difficult exposed solos at the beginning, and I'm sure that Tony Pappano knew perfectly well that they could cope with it, and it shows the orchestra off brilliantly.
Well, all of you, from different perspectives, have a great investment or an interest in the engagement of young people with music. Natalia, you benefited greatly, I'm sure, from the groundbreaking system known as El Sistema in Venezuela. And last year at the Proms, we were very fortunate to have a performance from a great product of that system, the Simon Bolivar Youth Orchestra. Let's have a little snatch look now at a little bit of that concert once again, and also a little idea of music on the ground, the system on the ground, El Sistema in Venezuela.
This is my first violin. I got it from Santa last Christmas. In the class where I play, there are children of different ages. But I have 2 friends who are the same age as me. I love music because we play lots of nice songs. I have lots of friends and I like the concerts.
There's one beautiful thing about music. If you see 2 kids, one beside the other one, if this kid is amazingly rich, or the kid is amazingly poor, they're going to have to do the same, they're going to have to play the same. And music doesn't make difference. Just play.
I've been playing the cello for 4 years. I've been playing the violin for 6 months. I used to play the flute, but now I dedicate myself to playing the violin. I'm 6 years old and my tooth isn't ready to fall out yet.
The majority of the children that come to this centre have lots of family problems. They have lots of economic problems. If it wasn't for the orchestra project, I'm sure these children would be on the streets.
It's amazing, Natalia, it's amazing. Just tell us, give us a brief glimpse into how it was for you growing up through that system.
Well, something that really was very attractive is the fact that before the Sistema started in Venezuela, the typical way of learning an instrument was very long. In order for you to play in an orchestra, many years had to pass for you to be specialized, graduated in the instrument, 10 years of theoretical studies, and then probably there you were probably going to an orchestra. The difference here is that even if you don't read music, you are playing the instrument, so you are having fun while you are learning. and with your friends, sharing them, and even by ear. We don't need to start reading music, but just by ear, starting getting used to the fact of sharing with people, which is the social important part of this as well. Social in the way of helping people, but as well of getting together and being sociable with people. And that was something fascinating for us.
David, the thing that I enjoyed about when you were watching that, BT, is just, again, the sheer enjoyment of music, the fact that there are no barriers to education, that it's about immediate engagement and enjoyment.
Absolutely. No, I mean, as far as the youth orchestra here, I was amazed by the kind of focus and fun in focus. And they were so clear. And he was, too, the conductor, I must say. Now being a, specialized conductor.
Julian, El Sistema has lit a touch paper, really, which seems to be just exploding around the world. And you're actually the figurehead of a new approach here in England called In Harmony.
Yes, it's all being advertised in September, and we hope to start 3 pilot schemes in January. Well, we will start 3 pilot schemes in January. It's a very exciting time. It won't be a copy. It can't be a copy. It's a different country, different conditions. But I think we certainly need it here.
Well, of course, one thing that makes it very different, it seems to me, is that in Venezuela, kids stop school at 1 o'clock, and so they can immediately then go in and do music all afternoon. I don't know how you get around that problem here.
Well, I think we'll just we will get round it, don't worry, we'll get round it. I mean, there is a way. It's already started in Scotland.
Yeah, there's a great thing, which is called Big Noise, isn't it?
That's right, and I went to see it on Thursday, and I was really very impressed with what they're doing. I think that they've only started in June, and already they're playing. It's quite moving. It's kind of a miracle, really, and I just love seeing it.
What is it that you're hoping, in an ideal world, you might be able to achieve with the In Harmony project?
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got just over 2 years to show that it can work. That's not very long. I'd like to see at least 5 years, but I think that we're not looking to create suddenly a great orchestra. We're looking to change a community and to change what's going on in that community. We will be going to the poorest areas, and it's a social project rather than a musical one, as well as a musical one.
Good. Well, very exciting stuff. We're just about to move on to the next piece in tonight's concert, in keeping with our American theme. It's Rachmaninoff's 4th Piano Concerto, written while Rachmaninoff was living in America. He'd left Russia for good after the 1917 revolution. Tonight it's going to be played by the fantastically talented Russian pianist Boris Berezovsky. And here is Boris Berezovsky with tonight's conductor, Antonio Pappano, to join the National Youth Orchestra for Rachmaninoff's 4th Piano Concerto.
Boris Berezovsky, the soloist in Rachmaninoff's fourth piano concerto, accompanied by the National Youth Orchestra, the conductor Antonio Pappano. Music which eloquently tells of Rachmaninoff's love of his new home, America, where he'd finally settled having fled Russia in 1906. A kind of unique synthesis of, I don't know, Russian protein and American carbohydrate. Dead exciting piano playing, I'm sure you'll agree. Essentially, he was almost jamming with that music. Again, as I was just suggesting, a strong sense of America in Rachmaninoff's spirit. Berezovsky bringing it off to maximum effect. Real sense of chamber music, wasn't there? In other words, the piano never feeling out too much on its own, but it's in constant dialogue with the orchestra. Equal partnership. The NYO doing a grand job. And here is a bouquet of flowers coming for Boris Berezovsky. It's being presented by the 15-year-old horn player, Caris Evans. She's been a member of the NYO for just 1 year. Wouldn't probably surprise you to know that Boris Berezovsky is also a brilliant jazz musician. He regularly performs in Moscow with his own jazz trio. It's quite clear he brings all those skills to bear in a work such as this, which does have, doesn't it, so many hints of Gershwin and 1920s American popular music. And there's Antonio Pappano joining Boris Berezovsky to take that bow. Well deserved. Well, we've got an interval now before we'll hear Copland's third symphony. Susie's left me. She's gone backstage to meet with a couple of players from the orchestra, but I'm still here with David Soul, who was recently part of the BBC's conducting show Maestro, the coach who taught him, Natalie Louise Basser, and also cellist Julian Lloyd-Webber. Natalie, first, what did you make of that performance?
Oh, this one, fantastic. I like him a lot. The pianist is a great musician. Beautiful touch. Fantastic. Expression.
It's
great. He really told a story with the music.
Yeah, absolutely. You can feel the jazz influence as well, the way he plays. It effortlessly just kind of floats over the keys and makes it look almost like you could do it yourself.
Well, it's the rarest of all gifts, isn't it? That he makes it feel like it's spontaneous, almost like it's improvised, not like it's been something too premeditated.
And I thought both the collision, the battle, if you will, and the complicity between the pianist and the orchestra was quite sensational. This young orchestra is fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah, Julian, is this how you like your Rachmaninoff?
Well, I just love all Rachmaninoff, actually, so it's just really nice to hear it, because that's the piece that you hardly ever hear in the concert hall. And I think that's one of the great things about the Proms. I mean, where would you see a programme like tonight in the usual concert season?
Yeah. Well, what's curious is charting the influence, or rather the kind of connection between the three works on tonight's programme. We'll come on to Copland in a little bit, but here we've got two completely different slices, two composers who clearly on some level loved America.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the things that the Proms is so good at doing, is like taking a theme and exploring it, and not, you know, they perhaps don't have to worry so much about whether the hall is packed out, although usually it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you all very much indeed. Now, when I conducted the National Youth Orchestra last year, I was struck both by their musical maturity, but also by their immense focus. They have this thing that at the beginning of rehearsals, they sit in complete silence for up to 2 or 3 minutes, contemplating the work in hand. And I can tell you that's all too rare in orchestral culture. Well, we thought it would be interesting to have a little look at them, so we went and found them rehearsing for Copland's Third Symphony, just to see how exactly they work.
I think that when you're working with any orchestra, the interaction between the people is crucial. But within a youth orchestra, it's even more important, the connection, for instance, between the string players in the front. They have to really, really look each other in the eyes. And that's difficult to do when you're young, I think. Guys, if you put crescendi in all over the place, this is going to become like a war. It should feel serene. All voices getting along with each other. There's no fighting here yet, okay? 1, and strong. Yes. Music is life. There's no real difference.
Each and every member of the MYO is a future audience member. Some of them go on to contribute to the profession, and some of them go on just to be absolutely central to our cultural life. And the expectation that they come to future concert halls with, the type of engagement they want from musicians in the future, what they'll be telling their children, where their taxes will be going. It's absolutely essential to us to feel that each and every musician here leaves feeling the vibrancy of music in society beyond just the vibrancy of music in the rehearsal room.
I think music is so disposable today. That's not good enough. It's not good enough for human beings. A live concert, when conductor and orchestra deliver, is that exhilaration is felt in the hall. There's no experience like it. I think that young people must be exposed to that. And of course that takes money, and it takes vision, but I don't think it takes a lot of money, and I don't think it takes a lot of vision. I think it's obvious.
The inspirational Antonio Pappano giving us a bit of insight into all the hard work that goes on behind the scenes. Well, I'm delighted to be joined now by 2 players from the NYO, Emily Ferry and Alessandra Ruisi. Lovely of you to join us in the interval when everybody else gets to relax. Yeah. Emily, tell me first of all about that Varèse. It's an amazing piece. What's it like to play?
It's amazing. It's nothing like anything I've ever done before. It's loud. Yeah.
Now, Alessandra, I know one of the things that this orchestra is trying to do is to get you guys out and about, not just in the concert hall, and we'll be seeing in a few seconds some pictures of a concert that I think was given earlier today at the South Bank Centre with some of your percussionists. Now, just tell me a bit about the kind of out and about work you've done where you've been given playing music outside the concert hall.
Well, about 2 weeks ago, when we first came to MYO, Sarah set up a project with...
this is Sarah Alexander, who's your new director, which is quite exciting.
With Joanna McGregor, the pianist, and basically we spent 4 days with her, working on a really varied programme, with Piazzolla tangos and loads of different stuff, which the stuff she had arranged as well. And we took this to the South Bank Centre, played 2 shows there.
Where in the South Bank Centre?
The Claw Ballroom. So it's like an open...
Oh, it's like a great big foyer.
Yeah,
kind of
really informal, which is something I've never really done before, but it's absolutely amazing because so there's chairs set out and people would come and watch, but the people would just be walking and you see their faces would be stunned listening to this music, and they just stay the whole time. It's wonderful.
Well, let's have a quick look at some pictures from earlier today of a similar gig at the South Bank Centre. Beautiful day, as you can see, and some of the percussionists from the NYO, I think, playing another piece by Varèse, Ionisations, and just a very informal sense there, guys, of kind of taking music out of that very sort of formal space of the concert hall and just being able to make it much more relaxed and accessible, and that's obviously something that I know all of the orchestra is involved in at the moment. Ali, you were saying that you worked with Joanna McGregor in a kind of similar space. What's it like working with musicians like her? What does that bring to your playing?
Just absolutely inspirational. Like working with someone with such a high pedigree is just fantastic. I never really because there was no conductor, she was directing the whole thing. I was leading the orchestra, luckily enough to be leading it with her, and it was just fantastic how she corresponded with us and just created great music with her in such a different way, something like the NYO hasn't really done that much before. Yeah, it was wonderful, something I'd never done before.
And you did something quite similarly kind of unusual in the Turbine Hall at the Tate Modern, is that right? Tell us about that.
We got just the same time as they were doing the string orchestra with Joanna. There were about 15 of us from nothing created about 12 to 15 minutes of music inspired by the Varèse that we just played, and by the works in the Boyce and Kiefer Gallery in the Tate Modern, London, and to be played in the Turbine Hall.
And it obviously went down very well.
Yeah, apparently we had something like 1,000 or something people come to watch altogether. So.
Well, great to have you out and about, and great to have you here at the
much.
Albert Hall with us tonight. And back to you, Charles.
Very much indeed, Susie. Julian, it's so important, it seems to me, that people out there understand that the National Youth Orchestra is an institution which is open to absolutely everybody. Any child between the age of 13 or 19 who've reached more or less grade 8 standard, right, they can join this institution. I think often people think that this kind of music is only for a certain type of person with a certain type of background.
Well, it's a very good point you're raising. I mean, I really believe that music can change people's lives. And I think anyone who's been on a youth orchestra course would know that incredible sense of community you have. You're sort of all working together on something which is bigger, greater than you are. And this is the whole idea of this project that I'm involved with. You make that point about people from different backgrounds. It's dangerous to generalise, but I would say that most of the players in the National Youth Orchestra, they probably come from backgrounds where it might be expected that you take up a musical instrument. And what we're trying to do within Harmony is actually go into the poorest areas where really they would never have thought of that. They're going to get free instruments and free tuition.
Well, that's absolutely key, isn't it, Natalia? Surely the great thing about El Sistema in Venezuela, that it's about starting kids very young for a start and absolutely disregarding what their kind of social background might be.
Absolutely. That's the way. I mean, everyone is welcome to play and have fun there and make music.
Absolutely, because music is a community exercise, isn't
exactly.
it? Now, David, I wanted to ask you, your sister runs a trailblazing project over in California, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's a teacher of kindergarten and first graders, you know, 5, 6 years old kids, and she has built a syllabus based on classical music as an entree into history, geography, relationship, psychology, you know, mathematics, because you know, it's all built on the, and of course we live in a time now where a lot of our educational system is sort of run by education police. We have to be at a certain point at a certain time of the year, you know, in your studies in order to justify getting funding for the schools. Well, she's flown right in the face of that and has a very big support team over there. And I've encouraged her now she really should write it out. Hopefully a number of other schools in Northern California have picked up on her syllabus.
So it's music as a community exercise, music as a form of self-expression, but using music as a way to understand the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also you know, we always talk about kids, oh, where do these imaginations, where do they get that? Where do they get that? And this music with her is apparently really focusing their imagination on things which then become indelible for them as they matriculate, you know?
Natalia, let's talk a little bit about, well, what's happened in Venezuela with El Sistema. What exactly would be what has been the social impact of such a large number of children making music?
Well, it is now covering around 500,000 of children working or being part of the Sistema. And what normally is happening is that they are getting out, or they are avoiding going into procrastination and to guns, drugs, and so they are sort of distracted there, not only having a community social thing, but as well getting rid of the very dangerous part of being in the street after school.
I mean, one of the things that's emerged from that project is that it's actually changed the whole family's life, hasn't it? Not just the children, even the parents. They become, you know, fascinated by what their children are doing, and proud, and, you know, it's a wonderful thing.
And just in a nutshell then, Julian, what are your ambitions for In Harmony?
All that and more. No, I mean, you know, you've got to start somewhere. We haven't got that long to prove that we can do something. I want to be able to show that things have changed in that community so that no government can ever afford to back out of it. They say, well, we have to go on with this. It's working. And, I mean, people think it's a lot of money, but in terms of all the things you were talking about, prostitution, drug addiction, you know, the cost of putting that right, it's peanuts.
Well, thank you all very much indeed. Now, in a minute or two, we're going to hear Copland's Third Symphony. Now, many people regard Aaron Copland as the first great American symphonist, and he had a huge influence upon all music making in America, certainly in the second half of the 20th century. Well, conductor Antonio Pappano, we saw him, and he gave us some impressions of what this music evokes for him.
Vast landscapes, lonely prairies, intimate human feelings, the joy of the gathering, the community, therefore the dance, the popular nature of these dances, therefore what the ordinary people, not aristocracy, what the ordinary people are dancing, the hillbilly dances, the two-step, the hymns that are sung in church, community.
Conductor Antonio Pappano on Copland's Third Symphony. Well, as you can hear, they're just tuning up now. The orchestra's back on stage. Well, the symphony we're about to hear has one of the most famous tunes in all music in its fourth movement, the finale, the fanfare for the common man, a brilliant piece to show off the confidence and ethos of this young orchestra as it looks forward to the future. Well, I watched some of the rehearsal this afternoon between Pappano and the orchestra, an extraordinarily great rapport, and really him drawing out of them the sense of the vastness of the picture that Copland depicts, and also the enormous humanity in this music. It was thrilling, and I'm sure it'll be doubly thrilling tonight. So here comes Antonio Pappano to conduct the National Youth Orchestra of Great Britain in Aaron Copland's Third Symphony.
Copland's Third Symphony, played with real passion and verve by the National Youth Orchestra of Great Britain. Leader Conrad Elias Trostman, conducted by Antonio Pappano. Well, the players of the NYO absolutely giving it their all in that grand symphony. A great final piece for their concert here at the Royal Albert Hall tonight. Well, the NYO's appearance has been made possible tonight with the help of Morgan Stanley and the Cecil King Memorial Foundation. And in a supremely vivid performance led tonight by Antonio Pappano. The players I spoke to earlier today find him just inspirational to work with. He doesn't make any allowances for their youth. He just demands rigour, precision and absolute concentration from them.
Well, huge heartwarming music, huge heartwarming performance. David, Natalia, Julian, what's your reflections on that?
To me, it's just another example of young people loving and enjoying playing classical music.
Yeah. Bravo, National Youth Orchestra, you know. The exuberance, the precision, and the pride in their community, it's there, it's all there.
Well, that's it for this evening. A fantastic close to tonight's concert. BBC 4 is back at the Proms tomorrow night when there'll be a performance of the St John Passion, conducted by Sir John Eliot Gardner. We're back on BBC 2 next Saturday when we have a programme of music celebrating Ralph Vaughan Williams.
Well, thanks to our guests this evening, David Soul, Natalia Lewis-Bassa and Julian Lloyd-Webber. For now, from all of us here, good night.
Good night.